Back in mid-February, our guest today, Howard Davidowitz of Davidowitz and Associates, came out and said the worst is yet to come for the U.S. consumer. He was here again in mid-May and said it's going to get worse for the consumer, and the stress tests were preposterous that the banks were in a death spiral. Howard, has anything happened in the ensuing months to change your point of view?
Absolutely not, except Barack Obama's numbers have all gone mad. 6 months ago, he told us $7 trillion. Unfortunately, in 6 months, it's $9 trillion deficit. Now, $1 trillion is 1,000 billion. We're talking some serious money. His employment numbers, of course, are mad. 8.1, 9.5, headed to 10. His entire budget is discredited. We're off the charts. Living standards will never be the same, and the American consumer can never and will never be the same.
So what on earth is going on with the stock market then? You see these same-store sales from retailers, they're horrible. The deficit, horrible. Stock market keeps going up. You turn on the TV, green shoots, off to the moon again, huge recovery. What's going on?
Well, here's all I can say. During the Great Depression, when the stock market lost 90% of its value, we had two of the biggest rallies, over 40%. So I look back to the Great Depression on those huge rallies where people were sucked in and ultimately were destroyed. That's the best example I can give.
Even though we're higher than that now, we're 55%?
55%, but it's really the same relative issue because this is not nearly as bad as the Great Depression. But during the Great Depression, where the market lost 90% of its value, we had two of the biggest rallies ever seen at that time.
So you think we're going to have, obviously, if we're having 90% downside from the peak, we're going below those March lows. I mean, do you think we're going to have that kind of weakness ultimately before we truly hit a bottom for the stock market?
I think we're Japan. In other words, are we going to have a couple of quarters where we're going to have positive growth? Of course. The Japanese had 7 stimulus programs, had their credit downgraded, have debt that's astronomical. That's exactly where we're headed. We have a cyclical economy, of course. So are we going to have a couple of quarters where things perk up? Nowhere near where Obama's budget says, because he's at 4% growth next year, as crazy as all his other numbers are. But the point is that, yes, we're going to have that uptick. That's exactly what the market is anticipating. But the question is, after that, the Bush tax cuts go away. Of course, they were insane, but taking them away, and then the government has to take out some of the stimulus. Because if we keep going with Venezuela, there's no way we can continue. So the government has got to stop spending the way they are. When you got the combination of the end of the Bush tax cuts, slowing down all of these bailouts and spending, we go right back into the tank, just like the Japanese did after the 7 bailouts.
So, excuse me. So what about inflation and deflation? This is a constant tug of war. Everyone feels like they're going to be destroyed by inflation. Then it's deflation. Japan is deflation.
To me, I see deflation because when I look at all of our clients, all of them are telling me the consumer wants to buy it cheaper. We've got to get prices down. The consumer doesn't respond to anything unless it's price. And if that's the environment, what's going on in real estate, if that's the environment, if all the prices are going to come down, I'm not worried about inflation. I'm worried about deflation, which is even deadlier. And most of the experts say we need a little inflation, but I think we're going to have deflation, and Bernanke has spent all this money to fight off deflation. Right. That's what he's most scared of. So I think that's where we're headed.
Right. So real quick, Bernanke reappointed this week. He and a lot of people saying the worst of the crisis is over. Are they delusional?
Well, they're not. All these guys are politicians. Look, let's be real. You know, all these guys are politicians in order for Bernanke to get reappointed. That's how Greenspan got reappointed. This is a political game. They're all running up and down the hall with rose-colored glasses. They're all running around following Obama with radical and insane health care plans and everything else. Look at Obama's budgets, how far he's been off. Can you imagine how much the health care plan cost? Minimum $3 trillion. Minimum. So that all of Obama's numbers have been crazy, yet people believe him that this is only going to cost $1 trillion. Are you kidding? So everybody from the government Always be loyal to your country. Never be loyal to the people in power because they're conning you every day.
All right, Howard, thanks very much.
Howard.